I'm DANI Fernandez. Now it's really on. I am a writer and an actress. I have written for Netflix, for HBO Max, for DC Comics, most recently Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. I love being a bi icon, writing for bi icons. I know you feel that. And my pronouns are she, her. And I wanted to just go down the line and have everyone, if you could introduce yourself, your pronouns, and the work that you are known for. Starting with you, Tanya.
Oh. Hello, I'm Tanya SARACHO. Pronouns she, her, hers. I guess the TV work that I'm known for is Vida, went away during the pandemic. And nobody noticed. No, so it was like that happened. And I do some theater stuff. Actually, one of my plays just got released on Audible yesterday.
Yep,
so,
yes,
it's about this, and I wrote it the first year I was a TV writer. So and I also directed this one, so like it's hard to hear it, be like, oh, that was terrible. But anyway, it's about this. So if you do want to hear, it's about a first year TV writer, Latina, you know. I also write plays, and yeah, that's it, I think. I have cats.
I have a dog. Valentina, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm known for my work on The Simpsons, Jane the Virgin, and Only Murders in the Building, and some other stuff. So,
Yay.
I'm CHARISE Castro-Smith, she, her. I co-wrote and co-directed the movie Encanto. Also a TV writer before that, and now again, I worked on The Haunting of Hill House and Sweet Bitter, lots of other different things. So nice to be, happy to be here, yeah.
Hi, I'm SILVIA OLIVAS. My pronouns are she, her. I'm known for Elena of Avalor, Maya and the Three, and let's see, Brothers Garcia, Moesha, and I'm just so happy to be here.
Hi, I'm CLAUDIA FORESTIERI, she, her, and I created Gordita Chronicles. Thank you. And I also wrote on Good Trouble and Selena, the series.
Yes. Thank you. So let's just hop right into it. It's been rough. It's been rough the past couple of years. It's been a difficult time for representation in the community. I would say always, but specifically a lot of cancellations happening, a lot of job losses. The world news looks scary, our industry news looks really scary, and whenever I feel like a crisis is happening, I try to hold on to hope. What is going well? I try to look and find what are the good shows, the good people, the good news that you can point to and be like, this is progress. There might be a lot of other stuff happening right now, but this person is progress, this show is progress, this news is progress, this executive is progress. What are the good things that you're holding on to right now? I'm just opening up to the floor. We don't have to go in a line.
I belong to a group that three of us belong to, Untitled Latinx Project. It's 18 showrunner creator Latinas that we sort of we have become an advocacy group too, that we're going to studios and sitting down with them and being like, what the fuck? But nicely, right?
Yeah.
We just did a couple of sessions, but we were nice about it. What the fuck, you know? But what that has become, that thread, that email thread, or not the text thread, has become this like lifeline for the 18 of us as like, Sierra Ornelas just, Lost Rutherford Falls, a brilliant show. Like we sort of supported her through it, or as we have wins. I mean, when Gordita, you're not in the ULP, but when that week, that horrible week, Claudia, that happened when they took away, Gordita, we were mourning with you in this thread. And for me, I know this is a very personal like answer to it, but these 17 other women, this sisterhood that we formed, it's been so important, at least to me, because we can process. And that is to say that those groups like that, these little circles that you form here are so important as we process everything you, like how you introduced, and also the good stuff, like to celebrate each other, you know, especially because you know how hard it is to get to those wins, you know, and those losses, you know, the mourning and stuff. So for me, it's been, but it's such a personal thing, you know, this thread.
But it's also something
women.
that you created. You saw a gap in like, how can I get all of us together? So you took it upon yourselves to create a group. I think a lot of times people might wait around thinking like someone needs to create this group for me. And y'all were like, no, we're gonna put the 18 of us together. We are powerhouses. We're gonna support each other. We're gonna grieve our losses. And we're gonna make sure that we keep moving forward. So you took it upon yourself to do that.
Yeah, we organized in a way, you know? And that's sort of like the advice, to do that in whatever scale. It might be 5 friends, or it might be a writer's group that you know, share writing. This was like a dinner. I invited you, but you had just moved to Brooklyn, to be in this. But like it was like a dinner at Gloria Calderon's house, right? That's how it started. And then everything came pouring out of us, and it was like, no, like, we're vexed by this, or no nos gusta esto, and then it became this, you know? But there's a power in sisterhood, or hermandad. It doesn't just have to be, you know, women. But anyway, I don't want to speak for, I don't keep looking at you.
No, 100%. I feel like absolutely having that community where we can not only celebrate our victories, but also mourn our losses and talk about our struggles together has been really important. And there's been a lot of struggle and a lot of loss, but also a lot of victories. And so it's wonderful to have that. I also drink a lot of wine. That helps me with both the victories and the losses. So that's part of my ritual.
Honestly, I think it's, you know, I started out in this industry, like 7 years ago. And at the time, I remember Tanya was staffing, and honestly just watching all of the amazing things that you have done, that Gloria has done, that so many people in this community have done in relatively a short amount of time is something that gives me a lot of hope, you know? Like, it's not enough, like not nearly enough, but I don't know, like your show, like all these things keep bubbling up. They don't get what they deserve necessarily, but I think the fact that they are happening and at least seeing the light of day gives me hope.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said up here. Yeah, having fellowship, having other writers. I talk to writers who, I was in the NHMC, so I have those writers, we have a specific experience. The ULP, we have a certain, you know, and we don't really talk about writing. We talk about, oh my God, I love your lipstick in that post. What whatever, I need childcare. Who do you recommend? You know, so
J-Lo.
Yes. J-Lo's a big part of our conversation. But it's just a matter of feeling human again, because we were all in our houses, and, you know, we couldn't communicate and be around people. So just feeling like a human being, we could talk about work. We could talk about lipstick and J-Lo and politics and everything. It's just, I felt like I didn't feel as disconnected. And so that's what I really loved about that. Also, I have a 14-year-old son. So just like remembering his victories, you know, he's 14, he's going to high school, remembering there's something bigger than just my writing, than just me. Then did I get that call? Did I get that meeting? You know, it's just like to enjoy the day-to-day and be present.
I was gonna say for me, being queer, one of my favorite things is watching Harvey and What We Do in the Shadows. Just getting to be gay.
Yeah.
Like just getting to have fun and be gay. And like that to me is representation, because I always say I have written about trauma and I've sold shows about trauma, and I think if you're called to write about it, please do. But I don't think that should be the only stories that we get to tell. And so just seeing him getting to be gay and killing vampires is like one of my favorite things. And so that to me is progress, getting to see that, and not just having stories in trauma. So that is one for me as well. And I just want to say too, Jason, even though she's not in our community, but Quinta Brunson, who is killing it, like revived so much of network TV. But she truly, I look at her and I'm like, good things can happen to good people. Like I hold on to that. I hold on to her so much. And because we had similar coming up kind of through social media, which we'll get into a little bit later. But moving on to the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So we talked about some of the good things. What are things that you feel Hollywood is still not getting right about our community?
Nothing. They're not getting shit right.
I mean, I'll jump in on this
Dale.
one. I think for me specifically, because I'm Cuban American, I come from a blended family. Both of my parents are mixed race. My family is a kaleidoscope of Latinidad. I'm also married to a Mexican Peruvian guy. So like my kids are like total scrambled, they're confused. They're like, we got the butt, we got the cheekbones, the whole thing. You know? And so I feel like one thing that I am really working hard on in my writing that I feel called to is having more of a dialogue with this country about what Latinidad looks like and how we are diverse in our heritage, in our points of view, in our politics, in our ethnicities. I think that's really important. Gordita was amazing, putting a whole other like facet of Latinidad on the screen. I think we have a white problem even within our community in terms of like the representation and who gets to be represented on screen when it comes to Latinidad. So I think that's an area where we really need to work. But that's just one of the problems. But one of the things that I feel like is like we need to have more of an engaging dialogue with society so that they can understand we're not just like the people at the border. We're not just Mexico or El Salvador. We're not like, I feel like sometimes, no, I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm like, no, censor. But anyway, yes.
This can be edited.
So socioeconomically, all of those things, there's diversity. We're educated, we're not. We're working class. We're all the things that America looks like outside of Latinidad, we're that too. We have that diversity, and that's something that I really want to see progress happen in. I think some people have like honest, good intentions and they want to be inclusive, but the instinct to make everything from their own point of view is so ingrained that even once they're like, that sounds fascinating, we don't understand that, let's embrace that. And then you get into it and they're like, but let's make it about us. You know what I mean? So I think like the reality is that it's still a very nascent opening of the door, and we're still struggling along deeply entrenched instincts and traditions, and it's just difficult. It's uphill and it's difficult. And
it's a problem we have in America.
Yeah.
So it's the problem we have in Hollywood, because it's a problem we haven't fixed in this country, you know.
You know, I'd say for Hollywood also it's casting. I mean, I had a network, and Valentina and I have talked about this. I had a network pilot. It was loosely based on my relationship with my mom, about 3 generations of Mexican-American women who own and operate an auto shop. And it was going well till we had to talk about casting. And they said, who's gonna play your mom? And I was thinking, don't you have a casting department? I mean, this is when you have to go and look for someone. We have to build and find and develop and grow the next generation of Latino actors. So then they came to me with Rosie Perez, who I love, but I was like, she's East Coast vibe. My mom's like LA. And so they're looking at me like, so no? And I remember thinking, if I say no, my chances of this getting picked up just went down. But or should I just, you know? And I said no, knowing that my chances just went down like 60%. Because they go for the names they already know. Yeah. So if those actors are already working, chances, I mean, I love the star on your show. She's a, you know, I want to keep seeing her and everything.
Iconic.
But it's difficult to find people who they're network approved.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I wanted to just say, like,
I'm listening to everybody, and I'm so happy to be here in the presence of all these amazing women that I've looked up to for so many years. And for me, like, the wounds are still very raw, and we just found out a few days ago that no one wants to buy the show, so it's officially dead, which is heartbreaking. And so it's like, you know, when you ask, like, oh, what's something inspirational? It's like somebody asking me about love after just getting served divorce papers, and then, like, you know, going on a dating app and everybody rejecting me. So, like, I'm like, oh, I'm like sitting here, like, getting inspiration from everybody. But it's just, I don't know. I'm like, I'm still, like, trying to, I spin my head around, like, what we can do, because there's been so many wonderful shows. Like, I'm still not over Vida getting canceled. And it's like, what else do we have to do? Like, I don't know. Like, I've been thinking about this for weeks, ever since I found out the news. Like, do I chain myself to a Warner Brothers building? Like, what do I do? You know, who's gonna bring me food? Like, you know, what do I do when I have to go to the bathroom? I don't know. These are the things I think about. So I think I used to believe that if the writing was strong enough, you know, that was the main thing. If we had enough Latino writers, and if the writing is undeniable, then, you know, I remember Gloria Calderon-Kellett, like, years ago, I saw her speak, and she's like, you have to be undeniable. Your script has to be undeniable. And I took that to heart, and I doubled down, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make my scripts as strong as possible. But now I'm thinking, I'm like, we need Latina executives. We need, like, a truckload, because there's not enough of them. And, like, even, you know, in our case, like, we were told that, you know, we exceeded the viewership numbers. We got great reviews. I talked to anybody who would talk to me in English and in Spanish, like, in the United States, outside of the United States, people all over the country. And that still wasn't enough. And I think that it's because the people who made the decision either didn't watch the show or didn't connect to it, didn't empathize. And I don't know what we can do to fix that. I mean, something has to be done, because it's extremely unfair. And I don't understand. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. When I worked in news, I worked for Telemundo, like, for, like, over 12 years. And every year, we would look at the demographics. And when we're crafting stories and pitching stories, we had to keep in mind the audience. Like, LA, we would see, like, okay, it's 65% Mexican, 15% Guatemalan, 10% Salvadorian. Like, we need to do stories for this community. We want to make sure. So I took that same, you know, energy and strategy when I went into, like, being a writer. And I don't understand why these, you know, executives at the networks don't do it. And we were literally told that they wanted to go back to their prestige roots. And that's, like, you know, when you have a show that's, like, about a girl, like, inspired by my own story, feeling out of place, coming to the United States, and then the show does well, and then you're told that it doesn't belong anymore, like, that's like, you know, I'm going to therapy, I'm gonna be fine. But, like, but yeah, I don't know, I'm looking to everybody here, and, you know, NHMC, to see what we can do next, because we really are in a crisis. You know, they greenlight some of our shows, and there's a lot of things that are going forward. I'm very grateful to Sony, because they gave me an overall, and they believe in me, and that means the world to me, and that's what keeps me going. But I don't know what we could do. We have to do something, because it's not fair. It's not fair. Like, not to see yourself growing up, when you grow up, not to see yourself on TV, in media, like, it really does a number on you. Like, and that's kind of like why I created Gordita Chronicles. Like, it started off, like, as a show, like, just to explain my neuroses to everybody. Like, here, this is why I'm always dieting and I never lose weight. Here you go. But, like, but yeah, so I really hope the future is bright, but we're going through a dark time, and it's, you know, we all have to keep writing. We can't give up, but I think we also have to figure out how we can join together. And my husband's Black, and he always tells me, he's like, you guys aren't loud enough. You guys don't complain enough. And, like, I'm, like, trying to listen to him more, you know, but because you know, the Black community really has been through everything we've been through for decades. And they're still having, of course, major issues, as we all know, but they have also made some great gains in the entertainment industry. So I hope there's, you know, hope in the future. I hope things get better, and I really don't know what needs to be done to fix it, though. So.
Well, I wanted to piggyback on two things that you said, and one of those things is, if we're not loud enough, but not unifying enough, or giving each other the compassion and space to understand that these stories might not represent our specific experience exactly to a T. Because I remember when Gentefied came out on the Netflix, I was reading the comments under like the Netflix trailer, and it was like, this is nothing like my family. And I'm like, okay, it's their family. They wrote about their family, you know? I don't know if every white person watching Friends is like, I wasn't rich, you know? But like, why? Why do we have to, and I know the answer, it's because there's so few of our shows, right? There's so few of our shows, but we as audience members are not giving compassion to the creators making this, who are telling their own stories. And then the other thing I wanted to say is you started to say, well, they greenlight our shows. And the other part of that is, do they market and advertise them? Do they market and advertise them also to white people? I'm sorry, but we need everybody in America / also out of America to watch the shows. I can tell you that something like Ted Lasso, which I love and adore, and I love Christo on it, a good friend of mine, I think they're marketing to everyone. I don't think they're like, oh, only this population right here.
Right.
So, if anyone has any other thoughts on that.
I was just going to piggyback on what you were saying about like the amount of pressure and scrutiny on the few projects that actually see the light of day. That I think is another thing that like really needs to change, because if there's like 1 or 2 shows a year, like 1 or 2 movies a year, they cannot hold everything. You know, they just can't. Like, and we also need the freedom to be able to try things and fail.
Yes.
Yes.
Right? Like, you don't get that opportunity. Like, how else do you learn, right? And so I think like just this, like the amount of pressure that I see getting put on these few projects really, I think, needs to shift, because like it's just, yeah, I don't know, like one show, one movie cannot hold an entire diaspora.
It's unfair.
Yes.
It's unfair to ask of our creators.
It's an inequitable standard that other non-BIPOC creators are not held to, and I think that's really hard for them to recognize. But I can list on my hands and toes the white male creators that just totally, you know. So no.
Yeah, because they make you the great brown hope, you know, and then you're all like, the pressure is on, and they don't support you a lot of the time with the marketing, which is like, that's where half that budget needs to go, you know. Like you can tell too, like when the rollout of a show or non-rollout, like it's so disrespectful, you know. It's systemic too, like how they treat us at the beginning, and how, you know, we come, a bunch of stuff. Everybody here is developing a bunch of things, you know. But it's like getting it to the finish line, which is like we all have relations maybe with studios. It's the networks, the ones that, it's the ones that have the power to greenlight. I don't know why it's not landing. I don't know why it's not landing the interest and stuff, because like you're asking for questions that, like, especially at the ULP and stuff, we've been asking. So we go out and talk to these studios, and we've talked to Netflix, we've talked to, you know, not just studios, but it's so, the answers are really horrible. Like, it's just a lack of interest, you know? Like what we're coming back with. So how do you fix that? Like, how do you, well, you know, like you're not gonna make yourself more interesting for them. Like you can't control what those meetings, those like board meetings that they're having, and like, well, we need to, you know, it's like, it's however we end up in the money stuff. But it doesn't mean that we don't stop writing or creating, because I feel like it goes in waves. I mean, you tell me, Sylvia, you've like been through like, no, I respect you so much.
I've been writing since 1995.
So like,
and so, yeah, no, I've seen it go where, you know, this is the year, there's Latinos, you know, this is it. And then it goes away for 5-10 years, and it goes, hey, this is good, okay, this is our time. And then it goes away, and I feel like this was our time with your show and One Day at a Time, and then Encanto came out, and you know, I was like, okay, and then it goes away. So the idea that what Tanya is saying is, how do you, to me, it needs to be like the executives. This isn't our job. Now we got to write it, we got to cast it, so we got to like, but we also have executives, not junior Latino executives who are, you know, are great, and I'm happy for them. but the upper level executives who people are going to listen to and advocate for you. I know there are more of those in the room when they're deciding this show's on a bubble. What do we do? And someone was in there, this is why we need it. And they're pushing and pushing. We need those people. We need an NHMC program for executives so that we could have the future executives who can greenlight things. Because the audience is here. We're here. The writers are here.
We have the stories. I mean, we do. It's
Right.
like, it's like you said, it's something championing. Oye, me salió el acento. Championing. My story has that formula. Marta Fernandez, who's Hispanic, she was the one who gave me Vida with no, like, it was great. When I tell people how it happened, they're like, wait, what? She called me and she was like, you interested in doing a show about gentrification and chipsters? Yeah, okay. By the time I was walking to the car, my agent got the call. Yeah, let's make a deal. Like, no take. I didn't have to go in there and it was just, what? No, I don't have to pitch anything. No pitch.
You were a white guy?
No. You know, I do have to say when they rolled out Vida, they rolled it out like a white show. They put all this money into it. And at the dinner when I was crying to start, I'm like, thank you for rolling us out like a white show. Thank you. And they were like, no, because that means they put all the money into, like, I could tell, like, and I was, you know, one day at a time, and Vida was at the same time, and she would be like, you know, Gloria was like, they're using the same, like, promo shots from the first season, the second and third season, like, and we, you know, our girls were getting Frida, you know, like they were, you know, and I mean, because they, you know, and I cast, they had, Melissa had been here 2 weeks, didn't have permission to work. We had to hold everything for 8 weeks to get her visa, and I had hired someone else. I don't know if this is out, but like I had a different cast for somebody else cast for Emma, and then we had to fire her because there was a problem. And 6 days before we found Michelle, who never even read for Emma because she didn't have the credit. She'd never been in TV or film set, except for shorts. And she got that. But like, because I really think it was Marta Fernandez who like was I don't know what fights she had to have, in, you know, behind closed doors, to be like, it's okay, untried, they're talented, just let them, you know, untried showrunner, untried everybody. It was their first time doing anything. My cinematographer had never done American television, just second unit Narcos in Colombia. But I was like, I can't get her now. She's so fancy. Wow. She's doing, but like because Marta invested in all of us, and now I can never get Meli again. Like you know, but that's great because like we're watching her go, because this was able to like nurture her in that way and launch her. That's amazing, you know. But that's the formula is the person who was championing. A lot of people like work their way up from like assistant coordinator, you know, whoever the thing is. But it's like, what are the qualifications for storytelling? Right. Which is that's what you're managing, right? It's so dangerous sometimes. I'm like, when they don't get it, and like the story might be good, but you need that sort of person on the other side. That's the part that I don't know how we demand that. Like we're sort of going in there and trying to be like, you need more, you know, that, but yeah, they have to be interested enough in that. Somebody did answer, I won't say who. We were like, you have no Latinas here. That's everywhere, so it could be any company, you know. You have no Latina executives, and they were like, we have Asian. We hired an Asian. Remember? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was like, I didn't say.
I going back to when I was saying about advertising and marketing to everyone, is because our stories are universal. We've proven again and again our stories are universal, and that's why they should be marketed to everybody, not just, you know, they don't even market it to us, to be honest. They're not even necessarily advertising like with a ton of billboards. We have them here in Hollywood, but when you go outside of Hollywood, that's like a little known secret, is like they have them here so that the showrunners and the creators can be like, oh, they are advertising it. But then when you go to Dallas, Texas, it's not really up. So I could ask y'all questions, and I do have more questions, and I could ask forever. I wanted to make sure, though, that we got some questions in the audience. So I know we have a mic. Please don't be shy. Feel free to ask. Okay, I see a hand is up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Priscilla. I have a question about Afro-Latinos in the community because I feel like we are not really shown on TV or represented on TV, and a lot of people are always like, oh my God, you're Latina. Oh my God, where are you from? And it's like, it's really sad to see that we are lacking so much Afro-Latinos in Hollywood as well. So we're like not really represented. So I feel like a question for you guys is how can we incorporate that as you guys are writers and really showing that Latinos are every color, as you said as well, you know? And it's not just one thing, it's so many different things. So how do you think we could kind of incorporate that as well to show more Afro-Latinos in TV in Hollywood?
When I was on Elena of Avalor, I remember saying I wanted Afro-Latinos, and I remember that first season, it was the network was Disney wanted to do it. It seemed like there was other people were like, well, and so second season I made sure we had Afro-Latino kingdom. So we actually had an entire kingdom, and we had Princess Valentina, who was our Latina princess, and then I wanted to make sure that to show the differences and the nuances, even though there's a lot that's the same, that goes beyond the hair color, the skin color, the eye texture. There's different. It's just not putting a princess in a different color. And now here she is, she's Afro-Latina. No. We have to do all the research and do it well. And the letters that came in when we introduced our Afro-Latina princess were amazing. People were saying that their daughters can see themselves. And I think it's a matter of having to fight for it. And at the first season, I wasn't at the level where they would listen to me. Second season, I'm like, look, this is happening or I'm walking. Mm-hmm. And so, but you have to be able to do that. And it's scary when you're the only Latino in the room making these decisions, and they're like, there goes Sylvia again. You know what? But I was like, I'm in such a unique position because this is a Latino show, and I am the Latina here. So I might keep talking and talking and talking, and they have to listen. But it was also me growing into my own power that I didn't realize I had until second season. So I think it's just a matter of us writers writing it in and doing it justice. Yeah. And hiring Afro-Latino writers and producers and directors so that the authenticity is baked in.
Yeah, I consider myself Afro-Latina, and going through this process with Gordita Chronicles, I learned so much. And my first piece of advice would be like just to be very, very clear from the get-go and write it into the script and be very specific, because a lot of people still don't know like what an Afro-Latino is. And believe it or not, I encountered that like at different levels. And also like with me, I had like a eye-opening experience because, you know, most Dominicans, your average Dominican is darker than me. And sometimes people can't tell that I am, you know, because I'm a little bit lighter or whatever, or they're confused by me, they don't know. So we ran into a lot of problems because I had to push to cast darker skinned actors. And I also had to push to explain to them the differences between like Puerto Rican and Cuban and Dominican. And there were like the role of Cuckoo, I'm like, she needs to be of Dominican descent, you know, and please, like, and I really, really, really had to fight for that. So like, you know, when you get to develop a show, it's a wonderful feeling, but also there's a lot of things that are out of your control and other people weigh in on, and so many different layers. But somebody gave me the advice early on, which was to make a list of like the non-negotiables in your show. And like what you're not. So for me, it was, you know, the family had to stay Dominican. It had to stay in the 80s. The protagonist had to stay Gordita. They couldn't tell me like, oh no, let's do Flaquita Chronicles. I was like, no, you know. So yeah, and then another thing was like the mother, the actress who plays the mother and the actress that plays the daughter have to be of Dominican descent. And that was like, they kept like tossing like all these other names, and I was like, no, 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 no. And thankfully we succeeded in that. And even so, I think we could have done a little bit better. Like I come from like a racially mixed family. Like my dad was white passing and my mom was very dark skinned. And then me and my sister came out like in the middle. So that's what the characters, you know, the real life people inspired the characters. And then, you know, even so, like we also got some comments about the mixed racial nature of the family. Like to me, it looked like my family had people like all different colors. And sometimes like the kids don't, it's not like you're mixing paint. Like the kids don't come like an exact blend. Like, you know, and that happens in a lot of Latino families where you have darker skin and lighter skins and multi-generational. So yeah, I was really looking forward to in a season 2, having the opportunity to keep, you know, to cast more darker skinned actors and Dominican actors. And, you know, I was already like having my eye out and making a list and all that. But that's another like really big battle that needs to be fought, because a lot of people still don't realize that, you know, Latinos come in all shades, and a large percentage, you know, of Latinos, especially in the Caribbean, are like Afro-Latinos.
Yeah.
So
I will say, like, on Encanto, which is animated, obviously, but it was something we were thinking about from the very beginning, wanting to actually show this blended family with lots of different people, lots of different backgrounds and everything. And, you know, I am not Afro-Latina, and we ended up hiring a couple of consultants to really help us design those characters, think about those experiences, make it specific. So I think also, like, having the humility to admit what you don't know and seek out answers to those questions, I think is really important.
Yeah. Thank you. Do we have, okay, I see another here in the front.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Michelle Castillo. I'm an actress, born and raised here in LA. I'm very, very much proud of that. And I just, first and foremost, wanted to say thank you. A lot of us do our research. We see your faces, we see your names. To us, you are our celebrities, because you are the ones there where we hope to be one day. You are at that level. You're talking about other levels, and I'm sitting here thinking, wow, I mean, you are inspiring us because you are already there. You're writing, you're telling those stories, you're being heard, while some of us are still literally running the cement streets, hitting those pavements and trying to smooth our agents, you know, trying to get into those meetings. And we are very willing because this is our career. This is what we chose, and we did it out of love. I'm hearing a lot of things that are like, you know, despertando a lot of things in me. And I've learned just living in different countries and hearing different accents. I want to get to that point where it's okay that sometimes certain things slip out. And I don't want certain ex-boyfriends or you know, I guess, you know, people of Caucasian descent to like make fun of a certain part of my accent. I want that to be okay, you know? Those of us with ambiguous hues, my mom's white passing, my dad's darker, you know? There was a time where that was a very prideful thing for me. And then I lived in Europe for a while, and I came back very jaded with that, you know, and not knowing what to feel about my culture and that identity, right? And so I guess that's basically what I wanted to say, that these stories, I know it's really frustrating that we keep hitting these obstacles. I feel it too, and whenever I come to these events or I have to really put work into my career, I get the butterflies in my tummy. And I just know that that's something inside of me saying, you have to keep working harder. And I think I speak for everyone here that, you know, and until we take our last breath, that's what we will do to get our voices to be even more heard. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for inspiring us. So.
Oh, thank you. I want to say something about the Latinas in Europe thing. I'm trying right now to make this show with stars called Love Song. It's 2 Mexican-American best friends in London that fall in love with a British indie folk musician in East London. So it's going to be like that. And like original music by Johnny Flynn, who is that guy. And it was so interesting trying to sell it for 2021, because they were like to get the interest of like, to me, it's monumental to center us on a stage like London, because we, as American, as a colony, I mean, look at this week. rest in peace, Reina. We fetishize English culture. Look at Hollywood. Gladiator, British accents. Lord of the Rings, British accents. Game of Thrones, British accents. It's not American or Australian. Everybody has to learn some kind of British accent because Hollywood has done that because I think they have a colony problem mentality here. They
out there are so different.
and it's erased.
They're seen
yeah.
They're seen differently, and I discovered that, and I want to bring that to light. A lot of us went to study abroad out there and didn't come back, and those stories want to be told too.
Yeah,
and they all have a different story.
And they don't, are not it was really hard to get it out there, eventually I did sell it, but it's even the interest, it's so not complicated. A lot of us have gone to different parts of the world, but we haven't seen that. It's so simple. Two Latinas in London that happen to speak Spanglish. Yeah, but exactly, but why not us? And that even that notion becomes so radical because it's we to try to do that, but it's such a reality. And it does something to identity too. Wait, when I'm not being bogged down by the stereotypes of Latinidad in the United States, who the fuck am I? Because for me, it was somebody was trying to connect with me, and they were like, "Oh, I've been to Bogota," and I'm like, "I'm not Colombian." Somebody literally, the Scottish guy. Wait, you recording that? I'm gonna do a Scottish accent, but it's not that good anymore. But I was getting my COVID thing, and I'm not a citizen of this country, so I still do my Mexican passport for everything. And he was like, "Oh, you're Mexican. Could I ask you a question?" He was like, "Could you explain ese to me?" Like an ese? No, Mexicans on the telly, when they call each other ese, there's an ese. That's what we've exported? I was like, give me my test results. I was like, you can't say ese. Don't you say ese. Is it wrong? It means dude in a section of a state. But in Texas and in California, in Illinois, you don't say that, Anyway, it was so random. But the power of Hollywood, that's what we've exported, they was when Mexicans call each other ese on the telly. Anyway, there's a lot of power that we have, but they don't let us wield it, but we have to fight to do it. Yeah.
I had a trainer at the gym come up to me and he was like, "So are you full Brazilian?" And I was like, "Sir?" Am I?
Well, Brazil
They just
say
made-
anything, but just where did you get that from?
No, they just have assumptions of how they think each of us looks or is from. It's wild.
You're right. Hollywood has huge influence over the perception of who we are. I'm from Chicago, and it used to be that, "Oh, you're from Chicago, El Capone, bang, 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 bang," and then it changed to Oprah, Michael Jordan. So it changes. I wasn't going to present this, but you all just happen to be women. I was offered a role in a short film recently, and one of the selling points was that it was written by a young Mexican-American woman, and I got excited. And I started reading it, and it was funny. And then I started reading it more, and I'm like, what's happening? And then I read the end, and I said, Where, I don't want to say, where do you stand? Maybe, how do you feel? What do you think about, to this day, we're talking about women still have to struggle. In writing, women still having the focal point being the affection of men. And as a straight woman, I find this offensive. That's not who I am. And it is very personal. So I know it's not necessarily universal. And maybe I'm not the majority of Latinas who are focused on romantic relationships. Maybe, what do I know? Tell me what you know.
I always find myself shocked at the number of things I still watch that don't pass the Bechdel test, right? It is an alarmingly large amount of things, and it's such a simple threshold. But I will say, I started out as an actor. I went to grad school for acting, and then I was like performing and writing plays and everything. And I think one of the things that really catapulted me and made me want to really write so much more was what you're describing, right? I was like, this isn't my experience. Like, I'm not like, you know, like I can't even tell you shit that I used to audition for. But like, you know, I take, for me at least, I take it very personally, and like always am considering how to make female characters complex and not just talking to men about their problems. Like it's central to everything I think about and write, so.
I would echo that, and I would say that I think that it's very important for, and what I try to write are very strong female Latina protagonists who are aspirational, who are ballers, you know, who are intelligent, all of those things. I'm gonna say also, I think that like one of the things that was amazing about Vida was just representing women who like love sex, like who are sexual and like neither like fetishizing us just as sexual beings, but also like being able to explore that side of our personhood in a positive way, which is an amazing thing. So I think like it is a complex thing, absolutely. Like I don't think that we should be limited to just being sexualized, but I also think we should have the freedom of exploring our sexuality as well on screen. Like, why do we gotta just watch Lena Dunham like having a good time? Like, you know, so do we want to? Let's get some options out there, people. So I think both. Like, I think it's as in all things, it's a spectrum, and I think it can all, like, we constantly have to be gut checking ourselves on all of those things. But I think it's important, kind of on both ends, you know.
If it is, but it's also how you treat it, you know.
Yeah.
Also give them full lives, you know, and backstories. But like that was something I didn't think about. Even in my plays and stuff, I was like, I never served that like master. And then in this story I am, and I'm like, oh man, I would like, what would I be telling myself 3 years ago? You know, what are you doing with this thing? They're only talking about the dude. Like, they're just talking about the dude. You'll never pass. But anyway.
Tanya, there's so many things that pass the Bechdel test that have no
Sure.
people of color.
Sure. Yeah. This is
So many.
Yeah.
So many.
Also, I think we should be allowed to write a big array of things. From like, I love rom-coms. You know, I'll watch a rom-com. I've written rom-coms. I also worked on Maya and the Three about a badass warrior princess who goes into the underworld and kills all the evil gods. So, you know, there could be a spectrum of things you can write. I think you're reacting maybe because you keep getting the same type of stories. But I think if we get to, just like everyone else, every other ethnicity gets to write whatever they want, it's really, what is the story really about? And when you realize that as a writer, then you go, okay, is this a rom-com? Is this a drama? Is this a comedy? Is this animation? Then you try to figure out the medium to best portray what it's really about. But at the end of the day, you're just trying to connect, and you're trying to tell something, just a piece of yourself, and share it with other people. So I think it's just a matter of having options and not just always being cast in the same types of roles. And also for writers, having the ability to write whatever we feel like we need to write at that moment.
Well, I wanted to say thank y'all so much for joining us. Thank you, NHMC, for putting this on. And I believe this is going up on YouTube, so
What did I say?
think. Yeah. If you have anything that you wanted to edit it out. But yes, please give another round of applause for these amazing women. Groundbreaking.